which is how you correctly remove these. That way you get your adapter, and then you just take your adapter off. And so after 12 hours, wow, it's a sunny day here in November. Now, I like to make a lot of videos about the Tesla Model 3 that I drive on a daily basis. And today's video is gonna be one that I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm finally getting to do it. So, you've seen the title, the thumbnail. Today, we're gonna charge my 2018 Tesla Model 3 for 12 hours on a 120 volt outlet, which means that's just a standard, electrical outlet. One of these right here. So before we fully get started, let me explain a few things here. I'm using a third-party adapter. This is not a Tesla charger. This is plugged into a dedicated 20 amp breaker that is technically for a golf cart, but of course, if it's got a regular 3-prong American plug, I can plug into it. So by being a dedicated outlet, that means that anything else I turned on in the house while this car was charging did not affect that breaker. That breaker is only for that one outlet, which is only charging my car. Now how we're gonna do this test is it's gonna run for 12 hours, almost on the dot, and I'm gonna see what battery percentage I'm at when I start this at nighttime, and then we'll see what battery percentage I'm at after 12 hours being plugged in to a standard 120 volt American outlet. Click like, click subscribe, indulge in your life at indulgeclothing.com for the merch. Let's go plug in our car and get it charging. And so you can see I'm just using a standard 120 volt outlet here that it's like just a little adapter. Runs down, has this nice little power brick, and that then runs all the way to here to this J1772 charger that I'll use with my Tesla adapter. As you can see, we're on 24% or 68 miles, and it's 10:07 p.m. at night. So I'm gonna put the start time for this as 10:09. I'm gonna get out. I'll show you this tomorrow, but plug this all up and get the car charging. That way at 10:09 a.m. it'll be exactly 12 hours. Let's plug up. All right. Adapter in, plugged in, and we're green, we're charging. And as you can see, it's 10:08 p.m. and we're still at 67 miles or 24%. You can see the amperage there, we're getting 16 of 16 amps. So let's see what happens in 24 hours at exactly 10:09 a.m. when I unplug this. All right, so the car is plugged in. It is charging. It's 10:01 a.m. I'm gonna pull this charger at exactly 10:10 to give it like an extra minute because, it takes a moment for the car to start charging. A few other things I wanna mention here is the weather. It was 52 degrees last night. 52 degrees means it may have used a little bit of heat to warm up the battery pack. I know it likes to stay between like 70, 80 degrees. So had it been like 72 degrees last night, it probably would have used nothing in the car at all and it would have just charged all night. Since it was 52, there may be a 1 or 2% discrepancy in how much I got over 12 hours versus what I would have gotten over 12 hours had it been like a perfect 70 degrees. Of course, add to that if I was in New York and there was 5 feet of snow on the ground, would be lucky to even get 1% out of this 12 hours. So we were at 67 miles, we were at 24%. Let's go out and see what our car's at now. And just a disclaimer that I want to add here, whatever small percentage you see here, you have to remember is being ran off of a standard outlet that you plug a TV into. There is 3 levels of EV charging. Level 1, which is this, what we're testing, 120 volt regular standard outlet. Then there's level 2, which is like this, like a NEMA 1450 dryer outlet, or even a Tesla destination charger. The difference is this standard 120 volt outlet's only using one 20 amp breaker, while the dryer outlet is using like a 50 amp breaker. And you can even set the destination chargers to, I believe, 80 and 100 amp breakers. So on a level 2 charge, you would be completely full after anywhere from 5 to 8 hours, depending on how much charge you needed. And then of course, the third way, DC fast charging, Tesla superchargers, EVgo, Electrify America. Those are the ones that you can plug into, get crazy power, and be ready to go in 20 minutes normally, at least in my car. So wanted to throw that out here because people may see this go from only 24 to like 35%, and they'll be like, what in the world? So also did not open my app at all, did not do anything with the car. It's literally just set here all night for 12 hours plugged in. Let's see what we get. All right, it just turned to 10:10. So as you saw, I plugged in at 10:09 last night. We'll go to charging, stop charging, unlock charge port, which is how you correctly remove these. That way you get your adapter, and then you just take your adapter off. And so after 12 hours, look at that, 51%. That's pretty darn amazing. That's 27% added in 12 hours, which is just over 2% an hour. So that's pretty good. If you look at the mileage, we went from 67 miles to 145 miles. That's like adding 78 miles, I do believe, if my math is correct there. 87 miles, maybe? Something like that. I'll have to try to pop it up here. But that's really good to see, because for somebody who may be trying to charge on 120 volt standard American outlet, now you know you can add about 25% in 12 hours. That would be where I would round that to. Yeah, big package Saturdays. Now, you're probably wondering, is this enough? You know, can I buy a Tesla, plug it into a standard, preferably dedicated, so nothing else is pulling from it, so it's getting the whole 20 amps, just like mine was all night, 16 amps, whatever. Is it practical for me to buy an EV and be able to plug it into my garage on a standard outlet and get enough charge to go to and from work? Seeing that we added 27%, which, like I said, add in the fact of the weather, maybe you want to add 1 or 2% to that even, because it possibly used some battery to keep the batteries warm. 27%, or rounding down to 25, is plenty. 25% is about 75 miles. You could drive 30 miles to work, would use about 10%. Could drive 30 miles home, use about another 10%, and then be able to get a fully recharged battery back at 80 or 100%, whatever you put your battery at. Some cars are 100, I know. Most are 80, and that's just very practical. It's able to be done. Now, yes, you may pay a little bit more for your electricity costs because you need to charge for 12 hours, so you have to plug in by 6 or 7 p.m. versus somebody on a level 2 charger like a destination charger or one of the NEMA 1450 outlets that I mentioned. They can start charging at 1 a.m., get the cheapest rates, and be ready to go at 6 a.m. compared to you would have to be plugged in by 6 a.m. to be ready by 6 a.m. to leave. The point is, it's practical, it's doable. We even did it once on a trip. When we went to Alabama and then to North Carolina, there was no chargers around the cabin we were at, so we plugged in with a regular 120 volt outlet and got about 20-25% over that day period. So it works. It's definitely doable to charge your Tesla on a standard 120 volt outlet, as long as your commute's not too far. I guess if you've got a 50-mile commute, well, I guess even with 50 miles, you're only going to use, that's not that bad either. You would still you would need like an 80-mile commute where you're using a lot of percent to where you almost wouldn't be able to recharge enough for it to work. So depending on your commute, it's very doable. You're going to add 27% or approximately 80 miles over 12 hours on a 120 volt outlet. That'll do it for this one. Hope you've liked it. Hoped it was informative. Hope I gave every fact that I could about how the weather was and how the charger is and dedicated outlets and everything. So 27% is what I added. I'd round it to about 25 in 12 hours, meaning 50 in about a day, give or take. Not too bad. Click like, click subscribe, indulge in your life at indulgeclothing.com for the merch. See you in the next one. Deuces.